There's a rabbi, his name was Rabbi Pinchas Teitz. He was not a Chabad Chassid, but he was a holy man, a Torah scholar, and a very active person. And he had permission to go into Russia. They would. This was in the 70s, the 60s, that he could go into Russia, which, even though Russia was not as severe as it was when it was in the time of Stalin, but it was still pretty severe. It still was, the Iron Curtain was there. People didn't get out. People didn't get out of Russia. It was very, very difficult to get out of Russia. And nevertheless, Chabad was there, and they had to do everything, secretly, clandestinely, and even the schools teaching the children. So this Rabbi Teitz, nevertheless, he had a permission to go into Russia, and it seems that he had, because Russia, they wanted to make it seem to the world that they weren't oppressive and they weren't oppressing religion. So they still had, people came in and gave classes, whatever, to certain limited ways, however it was. Okay, so this Rabbi Teitz, like I say, he wasn't connected to Chabad. He hired the Rebbe, he knew about the Rebbe, but he would go regularly. One time before he went, an emissary of the Rebbe, one of the Rebbe's, maybe one of his secretaries, he called up Rabbi Teitz, or he came over to his house, and he said that the Lubavitcher Rebbe wants to give you something when you go into Russia this week. It was going on like Wednesday. It was a secret thing. Nobody knew about it. He has no idea how the Rebbe knew about it. But he already heard that the Rebbe had these, supernatural powers or spies or whatever he had. But he knew these things that nobody else seemed to know. So he gave him this. I think he gave him also like tefillin and mezuzahs and things like that. That I'm not sure of. But one thing I'm sure of, that he gave him a Tanya. And the Rebbe gave him the Tanya, and he said, you should take this Tanya, this book, the Tanya, with you wherever you go. A small book, a small Tanya book. So Rabbi Teitz had nothing against it. But on the other hand, he didn't want to get caught doing something that was forbidden. But he said, it's my personal book. He could go. So he went. And so he was he went and did whatever things he did. One day he was walking down a street, and a car pulled next to him. Two people jumped out of the car, grabbed a hold of him, put a bag over his head, and pulled him into the car. And they drove. He didn't know what it was. Should he fight? Well, what was going on? After several minutes, as they stopped somewhere, they took the bag off. It was two religious men. And they said, listen, we heard that you were coming and that you have a message for us. So I don't know what you're talking about, a message, what type of a message? But the reason we kidnapped you is because, if you went of your own free will, is they would be after you. We were waiting just for the moment that there wouldn't be any, you wouldn't be in vigilance. I guess this was, they already had stopped their surveillance on him, whatever it was. And they grabbed him and they said, we just want to know, do you have a message for us from the Lubavitcher Rebbe? So he said, no, no, I don't know what you're talking about. So he said, are you sure? So they said, well, I do have a Tanya that the Rebbe sent me. I said, what? You have a Tanya that the Rebbe gave with his own hands? He gave this to you? Yes. So they stopped. They went into some sort of a building, wherever they were, in a garage or whatever. And he took out, he says that they saw the Tanya. Before they wanted to touch the Tanya, they washed their hands. They touched it. He looked in their eyes, and he saw that the tremendous reverence that they had for this book. And, these people seemed to be normal people. They weren't. And one of them said that he was a professor. One of them was some of the. So he said, well, the both said they have questions. They had to ask. One of them, he said that he kept things going in a certain community of Jewish things. And that he wanted to know if he should leave the city and run to another city, because he felt that they were after him. It was dangerous. They didn't know, should he remain there? Because if he left, then nobody would be able to conduct the services or whatever in the city. They wouldn't find anyone. And the other one said he had a question, that he was a I think, a doctor or something in a big hospital. He had held a very important position, and that he was afraid that if he made a request to leave Russia, that and they turned down his request, so then a person that wants to leave Russia, he couldn't find work afterwards. They would kick him out of his position, wherever position he had, and it was very difficult to find any sort of a livelihood because he was like a unwanted citizen. So he didn't know if he should leave or if he shouldn't. So they both had these questions. They didn't know if they wanted to, and they had the Tanya. So he opened up the Tanya to see maybe there was a little note inside, and they saw there were 2 pages that were folded over. And I can't remember what the pages were. If you wait a moment, I can maybe look. But anyway, one of the pages they opened up, it was folded over. The top line said that, and there is nothing like the holiness of the land of Israel. That was for the one who wanted to request his. So he understood that this was an answer, that he should make a request to leave. They opened up the second one, and it said that even if you're in a situation of danger, that you should run away from the danger. You have to look and see. I'm sorry, I forgot the exact places, the exact quotes. That you should avoid the danger as much as possible. He understood that this was a teaching for him, that the Rebbe was telling him that he had to leave the place where he was. It was dangerous for where he was. So Rabbi Tais left the book with them, the Tanya with them, and he came back and he told everybody the miraculous double, triple miracle that happened over there, how the Rebbe knew that he was leaving, and how these people knew that he was arriving, and how the Tanya was folded over exactly to the places where these people answered the questions, how these people realized that this was the answer to the questions that they had. And that's the whole idea of basically what Mashiach is, that Mashiach will answer all the problems. This is going to be a Pele Yoetz, is going to be a miraculous advisor and give miraculous advice to people that are in question. And if you look in the books of the Igrot Kodesh, there's like 40 volumes, I think. Now there's even more. I think I have 45, 46 volumes of letters that the Rebbe wrote. It's just a portion of the letters that the Rebbe wrote in the first 20 years that he was Rebbe. I think that they're increasing it now. And you see amazing answers to questions that sometimes even great Talmudic scholars, they ask amazing answers. And if you open one of these books up arbitrarily, seemingly arbitrarily, you ask a question, open up, sometimes you get answers that are just as amazing as these answers that these men received. Answers to questions that are just incredible. And just for one moment, I mean, my grandson, he was in Colombia. He had a Chabad house. He was working under somebody in a Chabad house, and he was very active, and he's very practical and very, very, energetic. He was working, and he loved the place. But we kept saying to him, "Ask Igros Kodesh what you should do. Ask the letters of the Rebbe what you should do." He said, "I'm doing what I want to do." I said, "Yeah, but maybe you should be in another place." Anyway, so he opened up the book. He opened up the book, and the book said, "Your place is in Israel, and you have to learn." It was just an amazing answer. He said, "Even though I know that this is," it starts off, "Even though that I know that this is not what you're asking the question, right? And that you have other plans, but your place is in the land of Israel, and there you have to learn Torah and teach Torah." So it was a clear answer. And he came back. He's not very happy here, but he came back. I mean, now he's starting to get happy because all of his friends are here. But he was really active over there, really succeeding. And the head of the Chabad house over there, they were just here. They made a meeting for bringing over here. And he said he really misses him. He really wants him to come back, but that's what it says in the letter. So sometimes you can find amazing answers, or at least insights, into the problems and the uncertainties of life in the Igros Kodesh, in the holy letters of the Rebbe. If you don't know what that is, go to your local Chabad house, and hopefully they'll explain it to you. Have a good day with Mashiach now. See you tomorrow morning at 8:15.